Welcome to another edition of Journey of Hope. Stories of people from around the world that have been impacted by the healing ministry of Loma University Medical Center. People that have come here to experience hope, and healing, and wholeness. Our special guests today are Rudolf and Hannah Kaiser from Freiburg, Germany. It's so good to have you here on the program, and we have people from around the world that are watching. And we want to learn a little bit about you, about where you came from and how you happened to come here. So tell us where you're from.
Well, we are both from Germany, as you already mentioned. I'm coming from right from the center of Germany, which was the former East Germany. And as a very young child, I moved over to West Germany, where I spent my school time and where I studied.
And where are you from, Hannah?
I came from Ansbach, it's in the near from Nuremberg.
So is this the north part, south part?
Middle.
It's in the middle of Germany.
Yeah,
okay.
Near south.
Okay.
Yes.
And where did the two of you meet?
Oh, in the north.
In the north.
We
In
both
Hamburg.
spent many years in Hamburg.
Okay.
And where I met her.
Now, tell us a little bit about your educational background, because I know you've been to 2 or 3 different places. You have a very fascinating background, and we want to get into that before we talk about your journey here to Loma Linda.
Okay.
Tell us about your educational background. And
So my education was very difficult because, as I told you, I'm from East Germany, so I went to many different schools when I was a young child. And later I settled and I studied, first of all, in the University of Bonn. After that, I went for 1 year to Oxford in England to learn English. And after that, I spent a few years in France, where I studied at the Sorbonne, French. Then, after my studies, I went to the Middle East.
Okay, now when you were studying, what were you studying?
I'm a professional acoustic and sound engineer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. And so you got your education there, and where did you begin working then? I mean,
I started in the Middle East, really.
In the Middle East. What
Yes.
were you doing?
Well, first of all, I worked for 2 years for the German television station. We had an office in the Middle East.
Was this in where? In Beirut?
In Beirut, yes. And after that, I got an offer to work for the United Nations as an international staff member. I became head of the information department, and there I spent about 6 years in the Middle East. And I wanted to stay there for good, but then the war broke out and I had to leave.
So you were there when the war broke out. That must have been
yes.
quite an exciting time.
It was terrible.
When you were in Beirut.
Yes.
Now, you were telling me here not too long ago about one of the experiences that you had when you were in Beirut. And apparently the war was just getting started. And
right.
Tell us what happened.
Before the war started, Lebanon was a beautiful country. They call it the Switzerland of the Middle East, which was true. You had snow in the mountains, and you could go at the same time down to the beach and have a swim. That it was very nice. And as I said, I wanted to stay there for good. That's why I settled down. I had a house, and I really wanted to stay. But then the war broke out, and unfortunately, my house was robbed and destroyed. So when I came home from a little trip, my house door was shot open by guns. All the windows were broken. There were very big holes in the wall, and my total belongings were gone. I had only what I wore on me.
That's all you had?
That was all I had. And everything was gone except my grand piano, which they couldn't take. So I had to go back because the German embassy warned us. They said, you have to leave because it's really dangerous. And many of my friends got killed. And it was really a bad time.
It must have been a frightening time. Well, now you were telling me, and maybe this was at another time, but you were going to go across town and play chess with someone. Was this at the same time?
Yes, it was exactly then.
Okay, tell us what happened. Apparently there was a curfew on.
Yes.
Cars weren't supposed to be out traveling around.
Right.
But you apparently wanted to play chess with somebody.
Exactly. You know, being a foreigner in such a situation, you don't really think you are involved. We were very careless. So although there was curfew and nobody was on the road, I took my car and went right across the town to see my friend in the evening to play chess.
And this was when the war is already going
It was
on.
during the war, yes.
But you were a foreigner and thought, well, this involves other people, and I'm okay.
You know,
And
it's
so-
wrong, but we
so
were like
kind
that.
of a quiet street because nobody is out on the streets. You
Yes.
drive across town,
Yes.
and then tell us what happened.
Well, I went along a very busy road normally, which is not busy that time. And at the red light, I had to stop, and suddenly, out of a dark doorway, 3 masked men entered my car. All had a machine gun in their arms. So 2 went behind me, 1 beside me. They put their guns towards me, and they said, "Go on." And I said, "Where to?" And they said, "We'll tell you." And then I understood a little Arabic. I heard when one of them said, "Go to the old cemetery, nobody will hear us." So we drove really.
And they didn't know that you speak any
I
Arabic.
understood what they said, and I knew what was
They were
going
going
to
to
happen.
take you up to the cemetery.
We went to the cemetery. They told me, "Get out of the car." I had a little bag like this. They opened it, took my money, and saw my papers. And then they went around me, all 3, and one of them said, "We are going to kill you now."
They informed you.
They
Oh.
told me.
And you already knew
in
this.
English. Yeah, of
You
course.
were fearful of this.
So, you know, at the moment when you think that's the end of your life, you get very cool. And I said, "Why do you want to kill me? You don't even know me." So one of them said, "Our boss told us to kill every foreigner. So you are one, and it's your
So
turn."
now you know the reason.
So, thank God, when they investigated my little bag, they found my card from the United Nations, with the United Nations stamp, with the flag and so on. And I must say, 2 weeks before, one of my colleagues from the United Nations got really killed.
They actually executed one of them.
Yeah, they killed him. And at that time, Kurt Waldheim, he was at that time the General Secretary of the United Nations. He was in Beirut when this happened. So they made a big search, and they found the guys who killed him, and they executed them. So the 3, they must have known about this, because one of them said, "Well, that's one of the UN, let him go." So they let go, and I went.
They let you go and you went. So then did you leave Beirut shortly after that?
Yeah, shortly, but you see, actually, this little card saved my life. They would have killed me because I know it happened to many people. And if I hadn't had this card, I wouldn't be here with you now to talk.
Well, I'm glad that you had the card. So after that, you were planning on being there in Beirut. You had to leave. So
Yeah.
then what did you do?
So first of all, I had to do something else. I went back to Hamburg, where I lived at that time before, and I founded my own company. And I exported food products to the Middle East. I had some good contacts to almost every country in the Middle East. And it worked very well, and everything was fine until the 26th of April 1986, when the Chernobyl reactor blew off.
In Russia?
In Russia. The very next day, all the borders of Arab countries were closed for European food products.
From all European?
From
because
all.
of the fear of radiation, I suppose.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and you're involved in the export business.
Yes, and I had a ship. It had goods from me worth about $1 million. It had already left Europe, but they stopped it. They said, no product will ever enter now.
So it had
Europe.
already left before the accident happened.
Exactly.
So it wasn't contaminated.
It was not
It
contaminated.
was already on there, but you had all these goods. And so what happened?
So what happened? My bank said, "Mr. Kaiser, you have a problem."
Oh,
I had
yeah,
one.
what problem? $1 million worth of goods on
You
a ship,
have to
and you
go.
can't get in.
Yeah.
Where is it stopped? In the Gulf?
It was stopped. It was on the way.
Okay, on the
But
way.
my agent told me I can't get it, and you have to pay me the money back. So I went to, it was in Qatar, near Saudi Arabia beside, actually. And after 2 weeks with talks of the German ambassador, with the health minister, with my agent, and 2 weeks of discussion, and finally they cleared it because I could prove it was really not damaged. So I was safe, but the very next day my markets were gone. I couldn't anything.
It's all
It
over.
was finished. in one day.
So once again, you all of a sudden in Beirut, you came home and everything is taken,
Right.
and then you start all over again, and
Everything.
once again you're
Twice.
left with absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
So, but you are a fighter,
I do.
and
I
you
am.
persevere, and you continue to build. So you eventually ended up working for another company.
Yeah, and then I started to, some Australian people contacted me and they said, we are looking for somebody who will be responsible for Europe for our product. It's ginger. Ginger is a very healthy product, actually.
It's a major corporation or
Right,
product.
it's the biggest ginger factory in the world, actually, based in Queensland in Australia. And they wanted a general manager for Europe. I applied and I said, okay, I will do this. And I did this for 12 years until my retirement a few years ago, and that was okay.
All right, so Hannah, he finally is able to retire.
Yes.
You're going to enjoy the time of retirement, maybe do some more traveling and enjoy life. And then all of a sudden you find out that your health is not exactly the way you thought it was.
Right.
What happened?
Well, my case is very unfortunate, I must say, because I have to add I'm a private pilot. And as a private pilot, you have to undergo a medical examination every 2 years, so which I did. And by incident, my aviation physician was an urologist at the same time. So each time I went for my medical, I told him, please check my prostate because I'm worried. And each time he said, Mr. Kaiser, you are fine, you have nothing.
Nothing to worry about.
So I was very safe and sure, I felt sure, and until last February, when I told my, my personal physician, I said, I would like you to check my PSA. And then the next
So
day,
you asked him
I
right,
told
rather
him,
than him
no,
initiating.
I asked him, I said, I want to make sure, please check it. And it happened to be 18. That was
So your PSA was
very
18,
high.
which is a higher PSA,
Very
much
high,
higher than it
yes.
should be.
Yeah, and-
So this was the first time. Now, I think this is a lesson for those that are watching,
Right.
that people need to take responsibility for their own health.
Yeah.
You said, I want to get a PSA, so it came back 18. What kind of an impact did this have on
It
you?
was terrible. I was very shocked and also frightened, and I said, "Oh my God!" And like it happens to most of our the same patients, my urologist offered me an appointment for surgery the following week.
He has an appointment, you have an opening,
Yes.
and you are a good candidate, and we'd like to perform surgery. How did this make you feel?
Oh, it was terrible. And we looked by the internet and books, what can we do? And we find out he must not go to surgery. We look for other ways.
You look for other options. In
Yes.
other words, you were told that you were a good candidate for surgery. And,
Yeah.
Sure.
and I need to point out to you as well as to our listening audience that we have a department of urology here, and we have a wonderful residence program in urology. And urologists are surgeons, and they do surgery.
Yeah.
That's what they do. But when you discovered what was all involved, you knew that apparently you didn't want to have surgery.
Exactly.
So you went on the internet.
Yes.
And what did you find when you were on the internet? That there were other options, apparently.
Hormone therapy.
Hormone therapy was one.
Yes.
Was that appealing to you?
Well, not really.
No.
Not really, but it
No.
was an option for you.
Yes.
And what else did you find?
Brachytherapy,
Pardon?
seeds,
Seeds,
Seeds.
brachial
Yeah.
therapy,
Yeah.
all right.
and
That's
then
another
radiation.
possibility.
And
Yes.
radiation.
And radiation.
Yeah.
And then how did you learn about proton therapy?
One of our friends, he asked me, did you ever hear of Loma Linda? I said, no, I didn't. But he said, you better get informed.
Yes.
So as Hanne already said, we went into the internet. I got the addresses of a few patients who had been here before, some Germans.
Some German patients.
Some German patients. I contacted them. We had several phone calls. I read their reports, and then I got really interested in that. That's the way I want to be treated.
So, and I'm sure one of those patients was probably Dr. Arne Hallmeyer. He was
Yes.
he was a patient here,
Yes.
and he's on our Proton
Yes.
Advisory Board.
Yes.
So you made plans. Now it's no small thing
No.
to leave Germany
Yeah.
and then to come all across the country to a place called Loma Linda. You'd never been here before.
Never.
No.
And so tell us about what happened when you came here. I mean, you had to find housing. You were going to be treated. You're going to be here for a period of a couple of months. I mean, that's a major upheaval in your life.
was, yeah.
And you find out I've got cancer. So tell us what happened while you've been here.
Well, first
You've
of all,
completed your treatments now. That's behind you.
it's a few days. Well, first of all, we were very curious because we read so many things. We read the book of Bob McKinney.
Bob Marcini's book.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, I bought this and I read it through. And I was very surprised about all the good information we got. So we were curious, can this be true?
And
What
almost
all
too good to
people-
be
yeah,
true.
Yeah.
all what the people said. There was everything that we said, oh, it must be something special. So when we came, actually, it's true. We were very surprised about it, not only about the treatment, which worked very nice, but also about all the people who dealt with us.
The people at the medical center.
Yes.
Everybody was extremely friendly and kind and nice, and we realized it was really what people before us said and experienced, and we had the same. And I must say I'm very, very grateful to all what we experienced here, and I can only tell anybody who has the same problem, go to Loma Linda.
Yes. Yes.
Well, you've been here for 2 months, and Hannah, this whole period of time, what kind of activities have you been involved in? I mean, poor Rudolph here, he's a struggling cancer patient. I mean, yeah, the people, as you know, when they come out together, they're laughing and having such a good time. But tell me some of the things that you did while you were here.
We go to the Dreisen Center for workout.
You go to the Drayson
Yes.
Center. How often did you go?
Oh,
At the beginning.
in the
we-
beginning,
You-
3 times,
You
3,
started
4,
off and you're going 2 and 3 and 4
4 times in
okay.
the week.
All right.
And we play golf.
And you played golf.
Yes, we meet other peoples. We have a great time here. We forgot the cancer.
You forgot that you even had the
Yes.
Not
cancer.
completely.
Yeah, not completely. Well, it's important. We want the people to get involved. And many times you've heard me say that, you know, healing is a process.
Yes.
And it doesn't start with the first treatment. It doesn't end with the last treatment. It's a continuing process. And so we try to provide a number of different activities. And one of the activities that you got involved in was a piano recital. And I know that it just kind of grew over a period of time. You met, actually it was, I guess it was Lily that you met. But
All by incident.
and nothing happens by accident. And so tell us who you met.
Well, one day we were in the supermarket, Han and me. It was right at the beginning of our stay here. And we didn't really know how to handle the nut department because it was very difficult for us with the different batch numbers and bags. And there was Lily standing, and she heard us
Now,
talking.
this is Lily who?
Lily Deal.
Lily Deal.
Lily
Okay.
Deal, the famous pianist.
Okay.
She was standing beside us, and she heard us talking in German. Then she approached us and said, "Are you from Germany?" I said, "Yes, we are from Germany." And she said, "You know, my husband is German. Maybe you would like to talk to him one day." And I said, "Sure, I would like to." And then she gave me a little business card. And on the business card, there was a little sketch of a keyboard. You know, the keys of a piano. I said, "Do you play the piano by chance?" She said, "Oh, yes, I'm a graduated pianist." And then I said, "How wonderful. I brought a few scores with me. Could we play 4 hands maybe together one day?"
Play 4 hands, 2 at the
Right.
same
Just-
time.
Just for fun. She said, "Sure, why not?" And we went to her home a few times. And then, incidentally, we decided just very informally, we wanted to give a little recital in one of the evening potlucks
For the patients.
for the patients.
As a way of kind of giving back.
Exactly. I wanted to do something like this, and we didn't plan any program, nor flyer, or any announcement. So we just wanted to play 2 or 3 pieces.
Maybe
and-
even at one of the potlucks
Yes.
there.
And then somehow it grew, and then, oh no, there was one reason why we couldn't do it, because we wanted to play together once at this piano in the room of the potluck. And we came at 1 and there was a bingo party going on, so we couldn't practice. And they said, well, we play till 3. So we went again at 3 and there was a birthday party going on. So we could never have the chance to practice at least once.
Always something going on.
Yes, so we canceled it for the time being. And then Lily suggested we could do it in our house, in our house. And we said, yeah, okay. But then it grew, and suddenly we talked about the chapel of the church, that it might take place in the chapel.
Chapel of the University Church.
Finally, Mr. Lynn Martell mentioned something that at the end it took place in the church.
Well, I've got a couple of pictures. We're going to take a look at it, but it did. It grew.
Yeah.
Now, and we had a couple of hundred people that came out to
Yeah.
this recital. That started off in an innocent way. You wanted to kind of give back and share with the
Yeah.
patients. And I want to tell you that we had a wonderful recital.
I'm
And we
pleased.
ended up moving from the chapel into the University Church. And
Yes.
they actually they filmed it, and you're going to be able to receive a DVD to be able to take back with you and share with some of the people. But it started off in a very simple way, and it just continued to grow. And we're going to look at a couple of the pictures here
Yeah, that's really
that
cool.
were taken. And this was right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
What were some of the songs you played?
Oh, we had a very mixed program, really. We played some Brahms, some Mozart, some, and then some American music. And then it was my idea. I said, well, really for America, I would like to play the Stars and Stripes forever.
And that was the song you concluded with.
Yeah,
And
and you know, 7 of the 9 pieces we played, I've never played before, so I really had to practice for weeks. Every morning I went to the chapel or to Lily's house to practice. And
so you practice every day, almost every day.
Yes, almost.
For the period of week after week,
Yeah.
getting ready, anticipating this event. Okay, let's look at this next picture here. What are we, again, this is you're playing, and this is at the end of the recital here. And then I gave you a special medal that
Yes.
day, and wanted to thank you again for the wonderful recital that you just shared. And I pointed out that many patients end up giving back
Yeah.
to the medical center for research. They do it on their birthday, or they do it on an anniversary. They do it at Christmas time or at the end of the year. But I pointed out to the group, and I want to thank you again, you couldn't wait till you were concluding your treatment. You wanted to give back, and
Yeah,
so
I
you
really
did
had
give
this,
back at that time.
yeah.
And here we had the final picture that was taken, and you had some kids there that participated in the Stars and Stripes Forever. It was a wonderful recital,
I'm very
and want to
pleased.
thank you so much for your giving back. Now, tell me, I'd like to hear from both of you. Having cancer, what kind of a difference does that make to you? Hannah, we'll start with you. Cancer is a kind of a fearful
Changes your
word.
life.
Yes, this changed our life.
And how do you think it's changed it?
The first time was very difficult, and it was terrible. But when we spoke,
Some of the patients,
yes, and we both,
the two of you talking
yes,
The decision making was very difficult at the
Yes.
beginning because we were very,
together. Well, you're trying to sort things
Yeah.
out.
yeah, that was very
Yes.
difficult because there are so many different ways to treat prostate cancer, and then if the first time you are confronted with, you really don't know what
Yes.
to do at the beginning.
yes,
But more and more we got informed, more and more it was clear what we wouldn't do or what I would
So
not
you begin
accept.
eliminating the
Yes.
different
Very
options.
much, and really it crystallized that it was only Loma the place for me to go.
Okay, so now that you've come here and you've completed your treatments and soon you're return to Europe, what difference is having cancer going to make to you?
You get much more sensitive about your everyday life, about your
Yes.
food, about what you do, your activities, and you really start thinking that life is not without an end. And
You're really brought face to face with mortality.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
I often say when you hear the words cancer, all of a sudden you hear the clock ticking.
yeah, exactly,
And mortality is a
Yes.
very real reality.
very true.
And so how is it making a difference to you? Now you look at life differently, don't you?
We do,
yes,
yes.
yes.
And how are you going to be? How is it going to be different for you?
Well, first of all, we are much more conscious about our health, really.
Yes.
Because I think for me, I didn't think I neglected something, because I told you about my urologist as a aviation physician.
Right.
So I felt safe. And when he told me, you have nothing, I believed him.
Sure,
And, that
nothing to worry
changed.
about.
That changed completely. I wouldn't believe anybody at first sight now. I would double check.
Well, now, and you've learned the importance of health. I mean, you were kind of conscious of health before, but now you know there's a
More.
relationship between diet and
Yes.
exercise and your overall well-being.
Yes.
And both of you participated. What kind of exercise will you be involved in when you go back home?
Oh, we will still play golf. We do a lot of hiking. We live in a wonderful area. We do swimming. And yeah, that's about it.
And you also work outside in what? You have something at your house? where
Oh, yes. I'm a great gardener.
You're a gardener,
I
that's
love
right.
Gardening, yes.
And
I'm looking forward for March or April to start.
where it'll be
I
clearing
grow
out.
vegetable and fruit, and that's
What kind of things do you grow?
Oh, any vegetable. Beans,
Really?
peas,
And you
sweet corn.
have a reasonably good climate
Yes,
there.
wonderful,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
We live in the warmest area of Germany, by the
Oh,
way.
do you really?
Yes.
Okay.
So that pleases me very much, and yeah, that takes a lot of my activity outside. That's
Working
true.
outside in the
Yes.
fresh air and enjoying life. Well, I know that it's going to make a difference when you come into contact with other people too. When they've heard about you're being treated for cancer, people will be coming to you. And
You know, I'm in a self-help group, and when I left for Loma Linda, I told them I'm going now to America, and they all wait for my report when I'm back.
they're waiting for you.
Yes. And
Well, I know you're going to be able to share a wonderful message of what
I will.
happened here at Loma Linda. I want to thank both of you for joining us here on Journey of Hope. And for those that are looking, I'm Lynn Martell for Journey of Hope and for Loma Linda Medical Center. I want to thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week as once again we interview someone that's been impacted by the healing ministry here at Loma Linda University Medical Center. Give God a chance with your life. He's got a plan for you. Goodbye. See you next week.